see some energy in the room. Hi everybody, good afternoon. It's good. First of all, great to be here. Good to see some familiar faces. Last time it was a virtual event. So very excited, and it's been quite power packed. I think the one thing to summarize what has happened so far is it's good time to be a consumer, right? All right, now I'm quite passionate about this topic of multi-platform composable architectures for retail supply chains. Now, before you start to think that this is going to be a very non-glam, boring topic, right? I want you to think again, because it can be, but I'm going to leave it at a moment wherein you will feel quite engaged throughout, right? Quick show of hands, we've spoken about ChatGPT and all of that. If I say AI in supply chain, how many of you all would raise your hand saying you quite, know it, heard it, right? Yeah, okay. Cloud and the value of cloud for supply chain? Great. Before 5 years when we used to ask our clients, well, not 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years, they would say, why do we need to go on cloud, right? Today the question is, it is a given, how much I can go in the cloud, right? Now, what about generative AI, large language models? How many of you all know it? One gentleman over there, good job. Now, composable architectures, 0, right? Well, what I'm trying to impress upon you is technologies, S-curves of technology have come in so fast in the last decade, if you see, right? And they have evolved so fast that it's literally an explosion of technology. And what we see industry often not doing so rightly is, I have a technology new toy, I have a ChatGPT, right? Let me use it, right? That's a very, the way we should actually use technology is, what is the business problem we are trying to solve, and what is the technology that you can use to completely change the way you run your business, right? So welcome to composable architectures. It's a topic that we've been researching as Accenture for the last year and a half. The bottom line of this is, if you are expecting supply chains to be radically different in terms of what they are supposed to achieve, which is to move from, let's say, a linear, traditional supply chain to a future-proof, future-ready supply chain network. If your expectation is different, then the way you wire your supply chain technologically has to be fundamentally different, right? It's important to start off with the industry context, because as I said, it's more of a business conversation than just a tech conversation, right? And I don't need to preach to the choir. All of us are living this every day. A lot of discussions have happened on this topic. The rise of the conscious customer, omni-channel, the convergence of industries. These are all mega trends which are really shaping the industry of retail. We really believe that the industry is at this cusp of total enterprise reinvention, right? Would you believe if I said that there's a company which discourages customers to buy their own products, right? But that's Patagonia, which way back in 2011, right, had a big ad saying, don't buy this product of ours. Why? Because they were trying to impress upon the consumer that be conscious before you buy anything, right? They took it a step further. Fast forward 10 years, they actually converted the entire, for-profit business to an environmental trust, right? What I'm trying to say is, these are all leaders in their own right? They've been pushing the bar, reinventing constantly, changing the way business works, right? Now, you put that on one side of the equation, you talk about supply chain on the other side, right? Right now, I'm driving like 4 to 5 digital transformations for clients in retail, alcohol beverages, medtech. And when I talk to the entire org of supply chain, IT, all of them agree that supply chain's expectations are radically different. And rightfully so, because, a lot of talks have happened on sustainability, responsibility, being transparent. Guess what? Supply chains are the biggest generators of carbon emissions globally. 60% of the world's carbon emission is by supply chain, right? So the supply chain business has a equal responsibility to solve for it, right? So I'm not going to drain through these data points, but when you put the two sides of the equation together, the industry context, the supply chain context, a lot of the supply chain officers are there here today, they've spoken already, some are going to speak. I'm sure all of you all will probably agree with me if I said there are 5 key priorities, right? One is clearly how do we become more and more resilient in our supply chains, right? Second is responsiveness to demand. I mean, just the panel before me was speaking about how do we become more and more responsive in all types of channels, right? Costs are not going anywhere. The focus on costs is absolutely going to stay, right? It's the larger purpose. It's not just about business. It's the concern for the society and the planet, that is going to drive business in future, right? And talent. We spoke about talent before as well. But you know what's, just observe that across these 5 business priorities of the supply chain today, each and every priority is fundamentally driven by technology. You talk about resiliency, can you achieve resiliency without going on cloud? You can't, right? Thanks for saying no. Let me pick one more thing. Sustainability. Can you imagine your organization becoming sustainable without the power of, without leveraging technology? The answer is no, right? Because technology is a force multiplier for all of these things, right? So then the question is, if these are my business priorities in the future, what is the problem, right? This is the problem. There are 2-3 things that obviously, continue to impede the ability to balance all of those 5 priorities. This page is, I could have gone a lot more dirty on this page. I could have put in 50 more logos on that, right? Because now you start relating this page to what you have in your own organizations, right? In your own company, you would have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of software applications, right? Think of a large conglomerate. Our research says that a large conglomerate with a complex supply chain globally would have, on an average, 1,300 plus applications, unique applications, right? And those that talk to supply chain, right? Not just the core supply chain apps like planning apps, fulfillment applications, but the boundary applications, upstream, downstream systems, that's more than 400 for a global company. Now, think about it. Do they talk to each other? I'm right now in conversation with one of the global beverages company, and the interesting thing is, you see that box, basically this is a value chain of supply chain, right? Planning, procurement, plan, source, make, fulfill, service, right? The whole 9 yards. They use a different application for statistical forecasting, right? They take that forecast, they use a different application for AI ML based forecasting. They take that output, they use a different application for S&OP and pass it to the supply planning system. They use a different tool for supply planning, and they use a different tool for transportation. Thank God there was so much space, otherwise I would have walked all through. The point is, that's the difficulty. It is not easy. We can say good, great things about, the priorities, what technology can and can't do. But at the heart of it, today, the type of clients we deal with, some of them have just got ERP, right? One version of truth. They don't have, they use the world's favorite application for supply chain, which is Microsoft Excel, right? There is second breed of clients that are now the first generation best of breed. They are investing money because they know that there is value in doing the, let's say, a Blue Yonder or a Kinaxis or an O9 or whatever it is, or SAP IBP or whatever, right? So they are investing money there. But as you continue, this becomes such a burgeoning portfolio that there are 2 fundamental problems. Interoperability. I don't have a shared view across. And B, lack of shared view of data. Now, those 2 are the fundamental constructs of composable architectures. Okay? So composable architectures are interoperable, pre-built business solutions which are in the cloud, right? And are powered by a digital extended core and enterprise data hub. Very complex. I'll give a very simple way to remember it. we've all gone to discos, right? We all do. You've seen the DJ, right? What does he do? He has thousands of songs in his playlist, right? And he just mixes, matches, and bases the mood of the audience and whatever, right? This is something like that. The DJ in our case can be the business, a store manager, or it can be the IT running supply chain. Okay, hold that thought, we'll make it a little more real. Second example, we all are citizen developers. How many of you all know coding? Some of you. How many of you all have built your own websites or for somebody else? Lot more hands are going up. The point is you don't need to know the code to build a website. I built one for my wife. It's a different topic that I am an engineer too. But how do you do that? You just go to a platform, right, that offers you a modular capability. You drag, drop, whatever you want. Citizen coder, citizen development. Composable architecture is like that, right? I may not know whether I have a Kinaxis that is running my forecasting, or a fulfillment is being done by whatever, right? Or Coupa is doing my procurement, but I have the business capabilities sitting at the top, which are able to give me my use case, right? One example to make it real. Let's imagine we are the store procurement managers, right? You know, every day in my day's job, I might need to, let's say, onboard contingent labor, procure some new joiner kits, and get them ready to work in the store, right? Today, what do? I have to depend on IT because the onboarding is done by some system. So I need to reach out to the IT guys saying, give me the data of these people, right? Second, I need to procure some new joiner kits. I might need to talk to the procurement team to say, hey, buy me X number of kits. Now, procurement team needs data of the human resources and things like that. Ultimately, you need to raise a PO or a PR. You need to talk to your enterprise system. Broken, right? Now, how does this change with composability? I have, just like I build my website, I go to a web portal, for lack of a better word, right? It's a software. That software has business capabilities, onboarding employee, raising PR, right? Hiring, buying new joiner kits. So these are business capabilities, but at the end of the day, these are small widgets, or in industrial manufacturing term, prefab structures, right? These are widgets which will allow me a particular business capability, and internally, they are API driven, so they are connected to an enterprise data hub, which is connected to a lot of these systems in not a one-to-one, point-to-point integration. So as a business DJ, right, I can do whatever use case I want by literally being a citizen developer. Now, this is where the world is going. We are seeing some very serious conversations on this topic because the leaders that I showed in the previous slides, right, they are continuously trying to innovate, because if we expect things to be radically different, we need to look at how we run our business radically differently, right? So that's what composable architectures is, the ability to have pre-built business capability capsules or prefabs, whatever word you want to use, right, which are in the cloud, right, powered by a digital core, extended digital core, and enterprise data. Why is it the right time now? I think one of the panelists was mentioning this, is today everything is available at a lower cost. Before 10 years, integration was difficult. Right now, there are many umpteen number of applications. You don't need to, so democratization of technology has really made this very easy, right? Ecosystems, so that ugly looking picture that I showed, right? Those themselves are realizing that if they don't open their architecture up and they continue to be closed, they're going to be out of business. So they are opening up as well, right? And obviously cloud is a given. So I think those technologically enable the entire composability construct. Finally, how do you start? I think I'll break some myths that might be coming basis what we've heard. Is myth number one, composability is equal to integration. The answer is no. Integration is inherent, but it's more about being interoperable than integrated only. Myth number two, it's a very complex process. It's going to take me ages to become composable? Answer is no, right? The way we are thinking about this is it's going to be iterative, compressed enough, make it in 6-7 weeks, continue to evolve, because at the end of the day, once you have the enterprise data architecture and the extended digital core, you need to identify those prefabs or those business capsules that connect, like the way you build your websites, right? So just try to remember that it's not something that's going to take you ages. It's going to be super turbocharged, different way of looking at architectures. Look, that's all the time I had. I hope it was engaging and not boring. I'm around, so I'm happy to talk to you about this, but I literally feel that composability as a concept, and you can go to Accenture.com. There is some very good research on this topic that is done. The retail industry specific conversations will let you know that how seriously this topic is being taken, the entire topic of interoperability and composability. So thank you so much for a patient listening, and have a good rest of the day.